This is the Dog Savant Podcast with your host, Brett Endies.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Dog Savant Podcast. I'm Brett Endies, I'm your host. Today is episode 57. I wanted to put one out there midweek. I'm going to try to put some random ones out there besides the once weekly regular episodes. And I just wanted to, not apologize, but just inform that, yes, I realize that the last two episodes were pre-recorded from a Q&A I did from my show last year. I thought, number one, it would be very beneficial to you to just get some on-the-fly common questions asked to me, especially on those days when I did those rapid-fire live Q&As. I think some good, just real organic stuff came out of me that you can apply to your dog training needs and goals. Also, quite frankly, I was in New York visiting family, so I was caught up in those obligations. And I needed a break. I just needed a little break from talking about it other than while I'm doing it in the real world with my clients. But I don't need a break now. I had some fodder for my next episode. Some of you have heard previous episodes of the podcast that I'll have real world interactions that drive my rants, opinions, impressions, expressions, whatever it might be. And today was no different. So I'm going to get into that. I'm sure you can kind of guess the type of person who triggered, yes, I use the word triggered me to feel the way I do right now, a little agitated at the common consensus way that so many people think in this world that is doing nothing for dogs and, in my opinion, nothing for society. So we'll talk about that. Nonetheless, please, you have to rate, review, share, subscribe, send me emails with your questions for your dogs. I want to know that this helps. I want to know that this effort is worth it. It's not just my therapy session every week, and it's actually, whether it be a rant or the tips or the advice I give, the experiences I share are applying. They're helping you. You know, if you're someone who doesn't have good quality dog training in your area, you've been failed by the purely positive movement, you want to learn to understand your dog more, complement the training you're already doing with a good quality experienced trainer. If you're a client of mine, if you're someone who just wants some supplemental information, that's why I do this. I'm hardly going to get rich on this podcast. I have a real job. I always tell people, but I want to have motivation to do this. And it really is your feedback and knowing that you people are helping me help others by getting the word out there. Okay, so what am I going to talk about? So, I always do, and people give me more material, so I'm going to keep doing it. People who subscribe to this purely positive social justice warrior kind of a motive-based thinking mindset where they're doing nothing but harm, and because of their blind idiocy, they're trying to get in the way and tamper with and defame or hurt people who are actually doing work, helping, doing good things for their lives. And those kind of people tend to just rest assured and sleep well knowing they are doing good stuff. They don't have to show the world or exhibit that they're so great, in this case, how they're so kind to animals by, everyone wanting to smash everyone else's windows, when it's 65 degrees and there's a cool breeze and the person ran into the store for 5 minutes and all the windows are open, because they want to feel good about themselves because the rest of their life is shit and garbage. And a step further, they're probably not great people as far as their character, or they haven't experienced enough to be having the character that they want to falsely create by showing the world how great they are, but they're doing nothing of substance to be that great. Hope that made sense, because that's my articulation of how these people's psychology works. And the real thing is that they're not aware of it. Most of these people are not that bright, so they're just impulse-driven creatures. They get a feeling, they act on it, and they don't really see the consequences or want to hear reason when it's put in front of them, even while they're doing these things to other people in most cases. So what case have I experienced? Well, today, as I usually do, I had a new reactivity case. These people happen to live in Hollywood, where it's very busy. There's a lot of dogs walking around, a lot of people with this mindset that I just narrated. That is why I don't live in Hollywood. A lot of great clients here, but there's a lot of indulgent, narcissistic people who don't want to put forth effort and be a decent human, and they want to live a Sodom and Gomorrah life, so they gravitate to this neck of the woods. Anyway, so I'm working. This is a little Chihuahua mix. Dog was on a harness. Bad case of reactivity, social issues in the home, anxieties, the whole mixed bag that we usually see. Doing great work right away. As soon as we switch, I had a pinch collar on the dog. Sometimes I'll start with a small micro pinch, a 2.25 millimeter. If a small dog, sometimes I use a small star mark collar or a slip lead. I felt the pinch would be the best thing to start with, give us right control. This owner was at the point where she couldn't walk her dog anymore. This dog was limited where it was going to the bathroom on the balcony or getting quick little potty breaks out front. And the owner was so anxious and devastated that she couldn't go anywhere with her dog. Okay, so within the first couple blocks of the walk, we were able to show some control. The dog wasn't thrilled about not being able to react because we were promoting focus and attention by walking it with proper commands and proper equipment, which in this case was a pinch collar and a leather lead. And everything's fine. The owner's so happy. We're talking about like, oh my God, this dog would have been doing this in the past. And just right now on our first walk together, she's so much happier. And, this is what I hear. So I'm very confident that the information I give works. That's why I do this podcast and I share this despite what people want to beg to differ because of their own opinions or they don't see what I actually do in real time. So their opinions don't really mean shit because I go by the real work people who do work with me in real time and their responses. So that's, again, this comment tell me we're great, feeling good. Now we're encountering this young lady with her dog walking towards us. The dog was pretty well behaved, walking like it looked like one of those thin harnesses that are made for no pulling. But dog looked calm, fine. We're walking. We're going to engage because now that the dog is doing better, we don't have to turn the other way or cross the street. We can walk towards dogs and have control. And what's control? The dog is calmer, more focused, and doesn't think a dog in passing is going to make it die because of the level of anxiety and insecurity it's creating by putting these harnesses or these other passive devices that don't address or correct the issues that these dogs are having with overstimulated responses to social interactions and transitions, right? And I'm walking by and the owner's happy, like, wow, it's so great. And all of a sudden behind my shoulder is like, you take that collar off that dog now. And I look and it's this lady passing by. I'm like, excuse me? That's mean. That's abusive. I go, you're so coming in the 11th hour, lady. Really what this person who's my client as a professional dog trainer is just telling me is how her dog for the first time in years is able to walk past another dog without losing its mind, and that means it's feeling safer and happier. So whatever your opinion is really not valid because you don't know what you're talking about. And she starts into the dog's eyes are going to pop out and all this emotional blinded dumb shit that people like this throw, whether it be an online rant on Facebook or a comment in public that they make they collar shame my clients and make them feel bad for doing something that's only helping their dog and teaching them to walk on a loose leash so there is no physical pulling and stress that these harnesses create. And what's even funnier is before we started this walk, the owner told me that the dog once slipped out of the harness recently and almost died because it backed away succumbing to its issues and taking off into the street because the harnesses are not even a secure device physically. Okay, and they frustrate a dog because that physical control creates no connection through the leash, and you're actually creating a lot more mental and physical stress. But these idiots are so self-righteous that in a training session with a happy, satisfied client, they feel righteous to say it. And they want to say, hey, I'm a professional dog trainer. I'm here with a client. Mind your business. She, of course, because delusional psycho people like those Antifa people who are like, when they get called out, they just go all wild and just start rattling out nonsensical shit. Oh, I'm a dog trainer too. You're not a dog trainer, okay? You're not. You're just not. You weren't walking a dog in a way it's like a dog trainer. You don't dress like a dog trainer. You don't look like a dog trainer. You're not. But you see how these people, there's no fact to their existence. They're just emotional psychopaths. Probably like a shit actress wannabe who just had no control of her life and wanted to control anything she could, which is pick on the two people who were just walking a dog. And again, in the 11th hour, didn't realize this dog was finally walking with security for the first time in its life. That's why I get pissed, because these people have the nerve to try to interfere with someone's life when they're the ones who are helping, doing what they so desperately wish they could do, and they're the ones causing the problem. Because why am I pissed? This mindset with this harnesses and this don't do this and that is why all these dogs have these issues in the first place, as me and any other good experienced trainer narrates over and over again. And this is the mindset that purely positive people feed into, is these delusional dummies who think that this is what you're supposed to do with your dog, and any keen smart owner's like, that makes no sense. And then they get wise, they get rational, and they fix their dog's problems, and they make their dogs happier and have a connected relationship with their dog, not a disconnected. But that's what these people are just dumb. I'm going to call it what it is. We have a lot of dumb, self-righteous people in the world. I know I sound like Adam Carolla now. Good. more people should sound like Adam Carolla, because that's a man who's a rational, pragmatic thinker who is not letting his own ego and narcissism dictate, or his victimhood dictate everything he does. These people are also very victim-minded, right? And this is what I see. I'll tell you guys time and time again that this is not hearsay. It's not my delusional impression of it. It's being a professional dog trainer in the real world for 25 years and hearing so many unrelated people tell me the same story. So you're going to tend to draw a conclusion that although it may not be common consensus thought, it's the reality of what is. And that is a big part of our world. Just recently, right, I had a client who I've worked with in the past dog. I only saw him once then, did so much great work, they only needed me for one session. Then they have a prior dog that had some real insecurity issues, real antisocial behavior. It wasn't even comfortable with its own family in its home that it's lived with for years. And within, again, one lesson, we had so much resolved. Owners were really on board, and they are getting another puppy, and they wanted me to continue working with this new dog, which was great. And to my surprise, I guess they had gone to the vet, their veterinarian, with a slip lead I put on their small dog, and had just scared the living daylights out of them. You know, demanding that you take it off, explaining how this is going to always end up with a dog with a collapsed trachea, and it's already causing damage, and blah, 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 blah. And, you know, because I liked the guy, I was willing to work through and say, hey, if we continue making progress and you and your wife just can't handle a collar and you're taking your vet's words as the gospel, that's fine. Since we already made some good headway with your dog's behavioral issues, no problem. But your new puppy, if you start demanding that we begin to teach it right from scratch with a harness, which is going to promote pulling, lunging, and all these other issues that, again, it's not my opinion, it's just what I find, because the majority of dogs I start with walking issues were taught to walk on a harness, which caused all of these problems. And switching it out, they all tell me that the dogs are happier, calmer, and there's no stress physically and mentally because of that switch. So when somebody, because their vet started, infiltrating their mind with this purely positive poison to get their emotions to just overcome their rational thought. And this guy, his wife not so much, but this guy's a very rational guy. He's very successful, and I've talked to him on the level about things as they exist. So, he's on paper not that kind of guy, but I'll tell you, it's even with him, I had to tell him that I'm going to let him go and refund him the remainder of his lessons, because if he's not even letting me train his new dog with what I know works, what I know is going to be best for their dog, for both their physical and mental contentment, right? It's just not going to go that way. And that's why I am. It's like these veterinarians, because they have doctor before their name, what they say once without having any applied experience at all or understanding of what's really going on with these dogs with behavioral or walking issues, they feel so confident saying, oh, forget what this guy says, even though he lives this life day in, day out in applied settings in the dog owners' homes. So yeah, again, this is what happens. These people use it like a narcissist would use gaslighting to make you question your sanity. That's what they do, is that they start questioning your integrity. What do you mean? Are you going to abuse a dog if you're not going to always keep it positive? And then they start painting you into a corner. So all signs lead to being able to say you're an abuser. In the human realm, people call you a racist or whatever it is. And you're not that. There are real abusers. There are real racists. There are real, misogynists or people who are anti-gay, whatever it is. But because you're not going to play into a delusion of other people, or some people, we have a lot of people who are just downright mentally ill. And people are now wearing their mental illness, which is too much emphasis on the I and self, the ego-driven way of operating. When you succumb to it, where you're feeling life so much, you're limited in your ability to navigate or connect or be agreeable to others. That's a problem. And when you have people like veterinarians or like the purely positives who want to infiltrate, the proper information with their nonsensical, crap, for lack of a better term, who else is going to say something about it? It's me who explains these experiences to pull the curtain back. There's all those other good trainers. Even the guy Sean, who I don't really love the work he does, because I am in the same market and I retrain a lot of his dogs. But I think the message he's putting out there is great. I think he stands up and articulates the psychology of these flawed individuals, so that more people can become astute. Dog training and owning dogs is an intelligent person's game. It's if you're dumb and deluded and full of emotion and have no other skill set to think, pragmatically, like I said before, you and your dog are done. If you're a parent, you're done. If you have a relationship, you're done. people connect, but there's no substance or depth. And when you don't have that with your dog, and your dog has that potential and is a very smart cookie, and your dog gets it, but you don't, welcome to a world of a miserable pet, inconvenience for you as the owner, and that's on you. That's on you for the way you think. That's why I don't have any problem, not accommodating a client when, I articulate an explanation as to why the harness doesn't have merit and what my experience dictates to have me see it this way and make the recommendations I do. But when after back and forth, there's no ability to see reason, I have to move on to somebody who will. Because there's a lot of clients who will apply the work, and they're the ones who end up with the reward of their dog being happier and getting what they're hiring me for. I tell everyone the same thing. Who wants to drink the water that I lead them to it's up to them. And all I can do is articulate, show examples, let them go do the research and see my track record and reviews and see the past work I've done, watch my show, everything I put out there. Proof is in the pudding and the results. And no one's saying to get results was anything done abusive, inhumane, or wrong for the dog. Actually, what I do is quite gentle. Even if we use training collars, we don't use strong corrections. This is more a lot of energy transfer, pressure, and release. And there's a lot of balance where there's, reward-based ways of teaching, operant conditioning, luring, all of that, But people just when I was talking about Sean, and I didn't say anything bad, I made fun of the fact that he wears hats, and a lot of trainers had their little hook, their gimmick, the hats, the outfits. I saw a guy yesterday, he's got the two muscle guy gloves. You see the girls, you got your low-cut shirts and your yoga pants. We all got a little shtick, right? I'm the Dog Savant, is that person who wanted to come out and get on me for pointing out, what I didn't think was impressive in Sean's, training acumen. But you got to see through that, right? But anyway, let me stay on topic. So Sean, but I think he really is good at articulating how these people think, and really circling the wagons, to just open the eyes of dog owners. I don't think this is a competition against the other trainers or purely positives. This is just to educate so that owners can see what's really going on. And unfortunately, there's a certain school of people that just by nature, because that's why Sean, some of his techniques and tools, I don't think that's what I would use. And I find that when we do something different, the owners report that the dogs are responding better. But the idea, the understanding of dogs being dogs, the role of leadership, dogs still being pack animals and not thinking something else. We need more people promoting this and not being afraid to be labeled by these shitheads. The purely positive ladies like that one who was on the crusade to help my client's dog, who were pretty good helping it without her stepping in. People like that need to just get told to shut up. I grew up in New York. If you did something, even wear something stupid because you were expressing yourself too much because you wanted to make it about you, it wasn't about you. We were all together. We didn't grow up rich. We're in a big city, a lot going on, a lot of stress, trials, tribulations. Don't act like an ass. Fit in, do your thing, be successful, work hard, help your fellow man, but stop expressing. Here in LA, and this time, I'm gonna, again, tangent alert, rant alert. I've never seen so many people with their earrings and their piercings and their tattoos and their hats and their clothes. Yes, we have self-expression. I have my style and my way. I dress like the hunter guy sometimes. I get it, but I'm aware of what I'm doing. And you don't overdo it so you stand out because you have some internal deficiencies you should be working on. You should look within, and that's going to make the difference. And it's what I teach people with their dogs. Look within the relationship. It's not going to feel good. You're going to have to hear and do some things that are not comfortable. They are inconvenient. It's effort made, mental effort made. But with that, dogs always improve. Okay, I hope all this made sense, guys, but I wanted to share some stuff. This has been a pretty active week with the whole harness topic. You can go back to one of my previous podcasts, somewhere in, I think, the 30s or 40s, a podcast. It was the pros and cons of using a harness, where I talk about the benefits of where a harness would be helpful, where you would use it as a training tool, right? But in most cases, to help with leash-related issues, walking, curbing reactivity. It puts unnecessary physical stress and pullback on the dog. They want to resist it if they're hypervigilant or haven't learned proper walking skills. Promotes tension on a leash, strain on their body, and reactions to external stimuli and social events. And unfortunately, people cannot articulate the causality and say, well, it's going to choke a dog, its eyes are going to pop out, put it on a harness. Okay, that still doesn't address what's going to solve the actual problem. Nonetheless, get out there with your dog, train your dog. Don't forget, I still see we're on 12 reviews on this podcast, and I know more than that is listening. You need to subscribe and review to this podcast. and share. It is the only way other people are going to find out about it, and I love getting the feedback with your questions at dogtrainingla.com and knowing that this is helping other people to motivate me to want to keep pumping out episodes. It is not an easy task, but I want to do it for you, so help me help you. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.